Good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome back to the Deal Scout. Josh here, your host. On today's show, we're going to have a conversation about venture capital. Justis, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you doing, Josh? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what are you up to?
My name is Justis Mendez and co-founder, managing partner of 161 Ventures. So we're a small VC fund with a $5 million fund and investing in early stage startups.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So you and I have been speaking for a long time, and you have a really interesting story and a motive of why you are doing this. So kind of give us your background, Justice.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised, single mom. Still to this day, never met my dad, never saw a picture, never heard his voice. So, it was hard for her to raise three kids all on her own. So she works at General Motors, kind of like your typical Detroit auto worker type vibe, very blue collar, kind of rough around the edges. But yeah, so trying to raise three kids, it was just real difficult. I ended up kind of doing my own thing, getting involved in probably the wrong crowds in the wrong places, and ended up getting into like the streets, and it was really unfortunate. That's what all these kids do. They end up getting picked up by these gang members or people who are take advantage of kids without a home or opportunity. So by the time I was 13, I was kidnapped at gunpoint, put in a car for $25 worth of weed.
Yeah.
A lot of really bad stuff. So by the time I was 17, I ended up losing 31 friends and family members. And I just kind of wanted to do something different. I knew that there was more opportunity out there, and I wanted to give back most of all to the kids that didn't have an opportunity like I did. So I ended up meeting some guys out in Florida. And I told them, hey, I'm looking for a better life. I need to, have a place to live. I'll work for you for free. They ended up saying, let's do it. They said, free? I love free. Who doesn't love free? So I ended up moving to Florida at 19, ended up sleeping in their walk-in closet for the first 8 months, working at their car dealership. Literally, scrubbing toilets, sweeping floors, cleaning out cars, trying to sell cars, doing everything I could. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build my own company. Started to do web design for them, digital marketing, paid all that stuff out of my own pocket. I was just like, hey, I'm going to invest up front. And then from there, ended up going and applying to UF. So I applied to UF, and they told me, they're like, hey, you're from out of state, so you have to pay out of state tuition. Also, you can't qualify for a FAFSA because my mom was still claiming me as a dependent on her taxes at that time. And most of all, I didn't have the credits. So they're like, I didn't even know if I took an SAT. So they're like, there's no way you're gonna go here. And I was like, I didn't hear that. I'm definitely gonna go here. So they kept telling me I wasn't gonna go. I ended up going to the business school, telling them I was in the engineering college. Going to the engineering college, told them I was in the business school, asked if I could sit in on classes, and did that for 3.5 years. Ended up getting into, yeah, without ever being formally enrolled. Ended up getting into the Gator Hatchery, which is the student incubator there. Launched a parking application. It was called Q Parking, kind of like Airbnb for your driveway. And that's actually where my co-founder. So it kind of all is now coming full circle, because now we're teaching a program at UF, helping companies get started. It's called UF Startup Launch Competition, $10,000 grand prize. We have about 40 companies going through the program. It's a 10-week program based on our accelerator that we have, because we have a curriculum. So it's just all coming full circle now, because the same place that denied me being able to come to school there, now I'm teaching classes. So I mean, it's just been an absolute blessing.
Yeah. So let's go back to a time. I mean, great story, man. I told you from the very beginning, like you have a very compelling story, very interesting. Let's go back to you and I get to go back in time, and you just got out of being kidnapped, right? So you were kidnapped for whatever purposes, and then you got out of the sticky situation. You, me, and your younger self get to sit down at a coffee table and have a conversation. What are you going to tell yourself, your younger self, right there?
Oh man, I mean, the first thing I would say is just trust your instincts. And this is one thing that I've been just doing more and more, is you have to believe in yourself. And at the end of the day, we could all make bets. I mean, this is the deal scout. Everybody listening, you're going to place bets, you're going to make deals. The biggest and best bet you could ever make is on yourself. Always bet on yourself. Always double down on yourself.
Yep.
And that's the best thing I could tell my younger self is just believe in yourself and just kind of keep betting on yourself. And one door will lead to another, and just no matter what, just don't quit and just keep trying.
What now from the streets to VC, right?
Mhm.
Is essentially kind of part of your path and your story,
It's a
from,
great title, by the way.
hey, I think that we should do that one, from the streets to VC. I like that. Like titles, I titles just pop up. That's a good one. So as you're going from that transition, what was the hardest challenge? Was it a mindset thing? Was it an economic thing? What was the greatest challenge hurdle you personally had to overcome and are overcoming?
That is such a great question. And you hit it right on with the first part, the mindset. As far as the money part, I never grew up with money. I always grew up super broke. So being broke in Cleveland versus being broke in Florida was actually better.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm broke in Florida. This is great.
Yep. Florida's
So
great.
yeah, Florida's great. At least I'm not, being chased down by gang members every day. So, it was amazing being here. It was the mindset part. I always had and one of my friends helped point this out to me, and I always had a scarcity mindset, always had a defensive mentality, just from the aggressive nature of everybody that I was around, people trying to attack you verbally, physically, mentally. I just always felt like people were attacking me. And I would always get really defensive for small things. I had a scarcity mentality, like there's never enough. So that's what leads to people trying to be greedy, or, thinking that they need to take more than they have. So, I think it was just a big mindset thing, understanding who I am as a person and what kind of gives these triggers, these mental triggers, emotional triggers, and then analyzing them myself. Okay, like what in my past is helping bring these things to fruition? How can I analyze that? How can I get over it? And yeah, I think that was the most important and the biggest thing.
Yeah, I paint a picture like this. I was a firefighter medic for a while. I retired at that to get into building businesses, but I did a charity event, and it was a boxing event. And they said, "Hey, do you want to, Josh? Do you want to do some boxing for a charity event?" And I go, "Yeah, absolutely. It's for a SWAT guy. He's our brother. Like, let's raise some money." So I step into the ring. They said, "Don't worry. Neither of you guys know what you're doing." But I stepped up against a professional fighter, and I got my clock wrong. Right, like face swollen and such like that. So like parlaying this into what you've gone into is I now when I in the business world I've had my clock wrong a few times. Stepping into a deal, I remember the past, right? The past is, man, that hurt when that person stole hundreds of thousands of dollars. Man, that hurt when I got punched in the face. Man, that hurt. So when we step into things of the future, we have to really overcome the past. That was a huge setup for what things of the past do you have to come over. So you mentioned scarcity, but when you're sitting in front of you guys have a $5 million fund, you're sitting in front of a major investor. What things of the past do you have to overcome when you're talking to a potential limited partner, an LP looking to invest millions of dollars in your fund?
Yeah, I think a lot of it I've already overcome. So, all those things that I was kind of talking about earlier, I've just been really teaching myself how to become better and better. I think one thing that I'm still trying to deal with is just, the sophistication part. Sometimes I don't sometimes I'm not the best with words. Or I could cuss a few times and and be a little bit, like a little aggressive at times, but in a good way, just kind of sometimes I don't look and sound like they do.
Well, all right. So what's your family's origin? Like what is your nationality? Like,
Ethnicity, nationality American,
okay,
ethnicity Puerto Rican.
that's a better way to ask that question. I never know how to ask it. Okay, so ethnicity Puerto Rican, right? So
Sure.
you in the world of venture capital, we're becoming a lot more diverse. But a thing that I really respect about the program, first of all, you guys are both from Puerto Rico and then from, I think, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, he's Dominican and
Okay,
Colombian.
in Colombia. So one thing I really like is you guys have a mission for the groups that you're looking for, right? Why don't you tell us about the mission and why that's important to you guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I'll start it with, my grandfather, and this is part of my story. My grandfather came here with 10 cents, to this country. And, the only reason he told me the only reason why he survived the Great Depression was because he used to wake up at 4 in the morning and eat from the pig troughs and eat as much corn as he could before the pigs woke up. So, this is somebody who, he was probably 5'4". He tells me it's because malnutrition, just growing up starving in the Great Depression. And that's something that rubbed off on me. Like we'd walk around my neighborhood growing up looking for pennies on the ground. And and that's I think that's why me and Pablo we have this mission is that his parents barely even speak English. He's not joking when he says, when I told them I wanted to be an entrepreneur, they didn't even know what the word entrepreneur was.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of set out and kind of change the playing ground. We want to be able to give people this opportunity. I mean, I think it's something around like 7% of all VC funding is split between blacks, Hispanics, female founders, uh, Middle Eastern founders. So, and it looks even worse on the VC side. I mean, 96% of VCs are older white males. 4% of it is split in between blacks and Hispanics, so 2% each. And none of them are my age. None of them really look like me. So, just trying to rewrite the narrative here, and be able to bring equity and equality, but also still make returns and still make it. It's not impact investing only. We're trying to make a change, but also we're going to make money. I mean, these are great deals. These are super sharp and hungry people, and I think that that's what gives them competitive advantage. Is that they're hungry, they're willing to work, they know what it's like to work. They come from a family who came here to work. So I think, and obviously we invest in all types of people, but yeah, I think resilience is the number one thing we look for in a founder.
Now, how can you tell resilience when you're looking at someone? Now, you coming from the streets, you have earned some street smarts, right? So you look at people and you could see things that other people may not see based on your experience. What do you look for to, resilience is one, but like, how do you identify that? And what are other character traits before you write a check to a startup? What are some of the things you look for?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the resilience part, obviously having a quick 5-minute conversation won't do it all, but looking at their past, looking at signals. So it doesn't only have to be, came from the streets, came up your bootstraps, but what have you accomplished? Have you overcome obstacles in previous parts of your life? Even so one of my friends, he was the nerdiest guy ever, and he, was not athletic at all. He probably couldn't catch a baseball if you threw it to him, but he went out there, he trained, he finished an Ironman. He went out there, he started his own program at PwC. Like that's somebody who's going to make it happen regardless.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't even run a quarter mile before that. So it's like that mentality. It takes a lot for somebody to be able to do something like that. So that's just like, okay, he has that switch and he can turn it on. Other things that we look for is, ego is really bad. So we try to look for people who are humble and willing to take advice and criticism and guidance. Um, with early stage investing, especially like pre-seed, seed stage, the biggest thing, you're not betting on a company, you're betting on a person. So sometimes the business model will change, the product is going to evolve, the market's going to shift. They might pivot 3 or 4 times. Probably
Yeah.
you're betting on the person, so everything we do comes down to people. We're in the people business. So I'll just do little tests with people just to see, do they know what they're talking about? Are they willing to, are they going to work? Are they going to quit? And we try and ask them, why are you working on this? We had somebody apply to the program, and we said, why are you working on this? And he said, I want to create multiple streams of income. Terrible answer. you know, so you're doing it just for the money. One of our favorite companies that we had come through the program, and he got $330,000 for his first round of funding from PS27 in Jacksonville. And we
Shout
asked
out
him,
to our friends at PS27. Cool.
yeah,
Really
Jim Star,
doing really great stuff. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we work with them. We've been sending them great deals. They just invested in another company that went through our program, Rise Superfoods. Guy Rashad Hussein, he just raised 700K, and when he went through our program, he was doing $12,000 a month. Last month, he broke 320K in one month. So he's selling a mushroom coffee But aside from that, I don't want to get sidetracked. Sorry. Yeah. So the first answer, right? The guy said, I'm just trying to make multiple streams of income. Stuff gets hard. Stuff does this. At the end of the day, the startup's not going to start paying you multitudes of cash. You're probably going to quit. You're going to get a job. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Um, one of the best answers we got when we said, why are you working on this? So this kid, Blake, he was working on a pre-alert system for firefighters. So it was a little wristlet that you wear that gives a small vibration when dispatch gets a call, so that you don't have to rely on the bell, because I guess that like startles people and gives people heart attacks and stuff. And we go, why are you working on this? He said, my dad's a firefighter. He had a heart attack. My grandfather's a firefighter. My brother's a firefighter. It's like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, he's doing it for a reason. And he knows that, hey, I'm helping my family. Like
Yeah.
if he has to succeed, so that's like the contrast in answers, and the contrast in what we look for, like, are you attached to this problem? If it doesn't happen, what are the repercussions? Are you just going to go back to a different job, or are you going to feel like, man, my family's not going to be all right?
Yeah. Are you attached to the problem? That's such a great question. Because if it's just another stream of income, what's the difference between two, three, seven streams of income?
Literally.
Once your needs are met, are you going to be hungry enough to return something to the investors, the partners, the co-founder, like the employees? Like, are you going to keep pushing on this if your needs are met? Right?
Exactly. Yeah, and we tell founders all the time, we're like, don't fall in love with the solution. You need to be in love with the problem, because the solution is going to change. At the end of the day, might not be the right solution, but you have to be in love with the problem.
I'm writing that down, man. That is really good. Fall in love with the problem. Because, I heard a saying, people pay more for painkillers than they do for vitamins, right? So
Exactly.
if we're focusing on, solving a problem, hey, you do a great job and you solve this problem, cool, go on to the next problem, right? Like exit the business, sell the business, go on to the next problem, but fall in love with the problem. That is really cool. Good job, man. So as you're doing this, like, all right, so you wound up, you're like, I got to get off the streets, want to go to Florida, found some people, working your butt off, cleaning toilets, selling cars, doing anything you possibly can, living in a closet. Went to one department. You said, hey, I want to be in your business class. I'm in the engineering class. But anyways, you got into UF, essentially. You sat in it for 3 years, and then you somehow you got into Gator Hatchery, and then you guys built an accelerator. Like, what the heck? Okay, tell us about how you even decided to build this accelerator within
Great.
University of Florida. Like, what the heck? How did that happen?
Great question. Yeah, so I'm really big on mentors, and really big on, finding. So one of my favorite quotes is Isaac Newton says, "If I see further than my peers, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants." Right? So you don't have to recreate the wheel. You just, first time I ever met a millionaire, I was 16. He said, "Look, find people who have what you want and model it after that." So there's this guy here, very instrumental in me and Pablo's lives, and in so many different lives. His name is Martin Chaffel. He has a lifetime achievement award from UF, and he actually puts up the money for the Big Idea competition, which is a competition on campus for people starting startups. But yeah, he was Pablo's professor, and he started to mentor us and take us under his wing. He had a huge exit, $500 million exit, donated $1 million back to UF. So he's, everybody on campus is kind of a big deal. And we just literally, wherever that guy would go, I would follow him every day, everywhere.
Right?
He's probably so annoyed, but I don't know. He kind of loved it after a while. He was like, all right, this kid's not going anywhere. I love it.
Yeah.
So so yeah, so we just started to get mentored by him. Ended up meeting, and I was like, hey, I want to get lunch. He was like, all right, let's get lunch. I was like, hey, I know you like cigars. At lunch, I got his number. After that, I was like, hey, I know you like cigars. I know you like whiskey. You want to get a drink? He goes, hey, I'm busy. I have dinner with my daughter. I said, okay, no worries. He texted me back 2 hours later. Hey, dinner got canceled. How many cigar smokers do we have? I literally texted every one of my friends who I could, and I said, meet me now. This guy wants to hang. He's going to mentor us. Like he told me to bring some friends. You have to be here. All my friends dropped everything they did. We met in the rooftop of the Holiday Inn
Yeah.
here in Gainesville. And literally, it was like a life changing moment. He just was like, hey, we're going to start doing this all the time. Also, I have a club in Tampa. He calls it the Empty Bottle Club, And he calls it empty bottle because one of his friends ended up like getting cancer, and luckily he survived it. But he was like, man, we have all these nice whiskeys and all these expensive wines, and if we died, our kids are just gonna pour it down the drain, and not enjoy it like we do. So let's enjoy it. Let's empty these bottles. So once a month they all get together as really great friends, and they kind of empty these bottles and drink and smoke cigars and just hang out. And they have like a mission. They try and see how they can impact the community. So he brought us there, and we were like, we need to bring this back to Gainesville. We need to create something like this. And we started to put on events. So once a month, we'd go to different office spaces or different businesses and get the whole entire community together. Startup founders, professors, investors, all these people. And after a while, it became super, really popular. And we made it pretty exclusive. I think that's what also built up the demand, quality over quantity, because there's a lot of events, but some of the people just a little different.
Yeah.
So we wanted it more quality than anything. And so these started to get really popular. We were like, hey, like, let's start putting on workshops. Let's start putting on round tables because we have all these founders. How can we start supporting the ecosystem more? How can we start supporting startup founders? And we had a long-term vision to launch an accelerator and a long-term vision to launch a fund. We started to map all this stuff out, and I'm big on goals, writing them down, trying to make a plan, because without a destination, how are you gonna make a map?
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was younger, I had it written down. I want to invest in companies. I want to do this. How am I going to make X amount? How am I going to build schools? Because that's my life goal. I want to build schools. But I was like, how am I going to even get the money to build schools? Like, hey, I need to start companies and buy companies, sell companies. So we started to have this long term vision for the accelerator and for the fund. When COVID happened, we thought this was going to be like 5 years down the road. By the way, all of a sudden COVID hit, and we are like, whoa, we don't know when this is going to be over. We're like 2 weeks in. We're like, dude, we can't do events. We can't do anything. We're like, why don't we just shift gears and launch our accelerator? Right? Like, what are we waiting for? What else are we going to do? We don't know when this is going to be over. We came up with a 10-week curriculum. We just put it together. We literally just blasted it out to every university, to UF, to Harvard, to NYU, reached out to Princeton, reached out to Yale, everybody, just like literally sending it to different professors, sending it to student organizations on campus, just like straight hustle, and we literally got it back to 10 founders. And it was amazing. And we were just like, wow, like this is insane. And then from there, kind of the rest is history. So we just finished our fourth cohort. We've helped 35 companies. We've helped them raise $6 million. We've helped them generate $5 million in revenue. So, by no means these are pre-revenue companies just kind of at the idea stage. Like, these companies are, really have traction. They're making money. They're profitable, and things have been just an absolute dream so far. We've had companies from NYU. We've had 5 companies from Harvard. We've had a whole bunch of companies from UF. I mean, we had a company from Yale even. So UC Berkeley. It's been crazy.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are definitely in the middle of deal flow. You guys create a tremendous amount through universities. I would say that's one of your guys' sweet spots is universities and working with college students because you guys are young. You guys are straight out hustling, putting deals together, and you guys actually scout out opportunities for some big pretty big groups. Like maybe you could share some of the you scout out deals for other people, maybe deals that don't fit your fund. Tell us about some of the scout deals you do.
Exactly. Yeah. The biggest deal, one that pretty much put us on the map, because I know, like I said, we're really young, first time fund managers. Some people are like, oh, who are these kids? It's cute, your little program. So we actually introduced this deal. The deal's called the company's called Simple Bet, and they're based out of Miami. The founder's Joey Levy. He actually grew up with my business partner as well. And so yeah, they in 2019 they raised a small round at a $15 million valuation. They started to get some early stage traction. They started to just take off and skyrocket. By the way, the company, instead of doing it's sports gambling, instead of doing your traditional are they going to win or are they going to lose, bet over under whatever, it's micro bets. So there's like 400 different opportunities. Instead of saying are the Lakers going to win or lose, it's like, hey, is LeBron James going to make the next 3 pointer? Is he going to make free throws in the game? Yeah, so all these little micro bets, and they're just taking off. DraftKings, Fantasy Duel, like all these companies partnerships, and yeah, so we introduced them to Florida Funders. They were raising a Series B extension. Florida Funders put in $2.6 million at $100 million valuation. And they came to us and they said, "This is the best deal by far that we've ever had access to. We can't believe that, we even had access to this. Why don't we have these deals? Like, how come they didn't come to us? This is crazy." They're like, "There must be tons of deals that we're missing out on." They're like, I want to create a scout program. You guys are going to be our first scouts. And, they still tell us all the time, like, this is by far the best deal we've ever had access to. And just recently, Simple Bet got the YouTube fighter Jake Paul.
Uh, no, I don't. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
embarrassed. He might be one of my best buddies, but for some reason, my mind's blanking. I do not know.
Yeah, there's this guy on YouTube. He's like famous YouTuber now. He's like boxing, and him and
Okay.
his brother Logan Paul, Jake Paul. This guy's like super famous, but yeah. So he actually just started his own fund called the Anti Fund, and their first check was a $30 million check into Simple Bet at a $300 million valuation. So within the past 8 months, Florida Fund has already called us back and said, "Dude, we've already done 3x multiple on this deal. Thank you again." So, by no means do we have, baby deals that, some of them are cute and some of them are early stage, but we also have later stage access as well.
Yeah. Now, what is your superpower that you bring to the table? Right. So you're sitting across me and some other guys and gals, and we bring you in front of some money. What's your superpower when someone goes, Justice, what are you the best at?
Yeah, I would say connecting and networking, building relationships, being able to connect with people. I think that's what kind of propelled me into where I'm at now also. I'm a connector. I connect a lot of people with each other. So, and that's something that is a big superpower for our founders too. I've introduced them to mentors, introduced them to customers, introduced them to, people who could help propel their business in a different way, connecting them to investors, pretty much everything. So, I think that if I had to single one thing out, I think just the networks and the relationships that I've been cultivating, based on the way I can build relationships with people.
Yeah, here's an opportunity to get some brownie points from Pablo. What is Pablo's superpower? That's your business partner in 161.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? I would kind of say that that's one of his biggest superpowers too.
yeah,
Is just really connecting. Also, he's really good with thinking about the day to day. So me and him have a lot of overlapping skills, which is good in VC. You have to be able to be a connector. You have to be able to build relationships. But I think me and him complement each other very well in the way that he's really good at thinking about the moment and like the day to day and like what's going on right now. I'm really good with thinking about the very long term vision, strategy, like the bigger picture. He's like a micro, I'm a macro, the way that I look at things.
very cool, very cool. So as you're building this, right, you guys have $5 million fund. Let's fast forward. You guys have some nice exits, and we've taken some time off to empty some bottles and light some things on fire. And then we go back and we go, let's get back into the game. What does the future look like for you, Justice?
I mean, future looks like fun two, fun four, fun five, fun six, so going up those Roman numerals. But I think a lot of my time I want to spend giving back. That's one thing I'm really big on. The high school I graduated from used to have to line up an hour before class to go through metal detectors and gang unit and SWAT and guard dogs, and kids were hiding guns in the bushes, and kids would get killed from school, leaving school. One of my friends, I looked over at him and I was just like, "Man, what's up?" And he was just like, "Man, I'm the last one from my neighborhood still going here." And I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Man, they just keep jumping us. They keep trying to kill us, because different neighborhoods have their own gangs. So
Yeah,
it's so crazy. This kid can't even get an education because of the way that it's all set up. It's just like, it's a lot of it's systematic. A lot of it's just not there's no opportunity for these kids. And, that's one thing that I know that the world could be better and change if they had more opportunities, if they had the opportunity to get an education. I think that that's something that I'm super big on. That's why I love everything we're doing now with the whole entire accelerator program on top of it, because we're teaching people, and I love to teach people. And like I said earlier in the story, I wanted to go to school. And I told that to the guidance counselor there. I was just like, what's so crazy is that all I'm trying to do is go to school. All I'm trying to do is get an education. Never had the opportunity to. And that's all I'm trying to do right now. And I'm young and I'm hungry and I want to learn. That's it. You act like I'm like coming in here and asking for, to rob a bank or something like that, and that's what I want to do. I want, when I get some money, I want to start a school, but I also want to start a scholarship, send kids to other schools, be able to pay for their college, just kind of break that generational curse.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's a good mission. It's really exciting. So as you guys are building this, like what challenges do you have as an emerging fund manager, right? First time fund manager. Uh, what challenges are you facing?
I think that's the biggest challenge. People saying you're a first time fund manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, some LPs are, a little bit weary and they're like, how are you going to be a good steward of my capital? You're a first time fund manager. I want to see a good track record. When we put them in front of some of the firms that we've scouted deals for, they know that we have good deal flow. Some of them just say, how are you going to know which ones to pick? And I think that we actually know which ones to pick better than the firms that we're making intros to, because at the end of the day we spend an intimate 10 weeks with these founders. We know their team dynamic, we know them personally. Also, I think that's one of our superpowers as a firm and as a program. We're almost the same age as these people, so, and they were actually saying this to us after one of our classes. We ended up going and getting a beer and a burger with some of the students, and they were obviously 21. And I wanted to make sure I said that. But yeah, we ended up going out, and literally one of the kids looks at us and goes, "Man, I am so happy you're around our same age." He's like, "I couldn't imagine if you guys were like 65, 70, trying to, relate to us."
Yeah.
So, we get to really understand who they are as people. We become friends with them. We understand. And I think that that's what helps us so much, get
Yeah.
so much more insight instead of somebody pretending to be somebody all buttoned up. It's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah, yeah. The relatability, understanding what people go through, understanding the pain points of, maybe coming from a background that not having money or fighting every day to pay bills or living in a closet or living on the streets or getting kidnapped or being at gunpoint, right? So being able to relate to other people is such a great tool as an ally that you're creating these relationships with and kind of walking them through different levels of business growth from startup to hopefully major exits with incredible results in the middle. What would you say as you guys are building this? What would you say is something that our audience could like help with right now? So as people are listening in, they go, man, I really like this. Like, you know, and I could say this, maybe, connecting with you guys and figuring out a way to invest or learn how to do deals together, right? Like, but other than that, like what do you think are some areas that you are looking for and, being open to getting some help from?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking to learn from from other people who have managed funds. People who have people who have done this before. I think that there's a lot of different. It's more of an art than a science, and everybody has their own process and everybody has their own thesis. So to me, it's super interesting to be able to see everybody's kind of school of thought and kind of compare them against each other. Like some of the guys we speak out out west, completely different approach than some of the people on the East Coast,
Yeah.
especially in the Southeast. So it's always super interesting just getting all these diverse schools of thought.
Yeah. Now, what would you say? So we have to take deal flow off the table because you guys have crazy amount of deal flow because of the university groups. Why should an investor, work with your group rather than another group? Let's just say side by side, emerging fund over here, emerging fund over here, deal flow off the table. What other thing that you think sets you and Pablo apart than any other group?
Yeah, I think that we're honestly, and I really wholeheartedly believe this, I think that we're having some of the best deals. I just think the quality is ridiculous. I think the valuations are amazing. We're not dealing with some it's hard to explain, but I don't want to offend anybody, but I think that some of these young, hungry kids, I think that that's where the next Facebook is going to come from. I
Yeah.
think that this is where the next Twitter is going to come from. So I think that we have one of the best opportunities. And we also think that Florida as a whole is going to become the next Silicon Valley. You've already seen that Florida is blowing up right now, and we're going to become the go to name in Florida. Whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're locking in all these different universities. All these kids, they're going to grow up. They're going to start more companies. They're going to call us later down the road. We're building these long-term relationships at the beginning stage of their journey. And, they've already reached out to us and just said, hey, you've been so pivotal in my journey. I want to call you on startup number 2, startup number 3, and we're going to have first access on all those deals. So I think there's no better place to, if you want to get in at the ground level of something, than what we're doing now.
Yeah. Very cool. Last a couple more questions. I always say last question, and it's not. It's a complete lie. All right. All right. So I'm a new startup, right? New founder, going through university, going through your program, and we're sitting down and you go, you get an opportunity and you bring a book for me. What is the one book that you're like, you've got to read this because it's going to change your life? What book would that be?
Wow, great question.
It could be personal, it could be business, it could be whatever you want. What book will you put in front of me?
That is a really good question. I love to read, so I have like so many books that I would recommend like 5. But
Yeah.
but if it had to be one, oh man, that's really good. It'd probably be How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think people is, I mean, everything is people. And if you can't figure out how to understand people, communicate with people, relate to people, you're kind of just you're kind of done. Another one that changed my life was Think and Grow Rich. I think just the belief level that somebody just believing in yourself is step number 1. But probably How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah. I mean, that's a challenge that I face every day. I mean, I've got it tattooed on my arm, a question about identity, because the the greatest battle I'm ever going to fight is the battle between my ears,
Yes,
because, I don't care what other things are going on in my world. If I could overcome that, I could at least show up. If I can't overcome what goes in my ears, I'm going to keep my head on a pillow, right?
exactly. I have this conversation with people all the time. I tell them, Carnegie Mellon did a study and they say it's something like 83% of your financial success comes from communication. And then I ask them a second question, but communication with who?
Mm-hmm.
Yourself,
Yeah.
right? What story are you telling yourself every day? What narrative do you tell yourself? Who do you believe you are? That's what you're going to act on. That's what you're going to end up doing. So I think it's super important what story people are telling themselves.
Yeah. So many other conversations that we're going to have, and moving forward when we maybe look at some of your portfolio companies and such like that. But let me just pause here and say, you guys are doing a great job. Really like what we're doing. If there's someone in the audience that wants to learn more about your fund, your accelerator program, maybe connect with you, maybe, be a part of what you guys are going, what's a good place for them to do so?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, but my email is justis at 161group.com. So that's phonetically spelled out 161. Uh, but my phone number is 216-973-8799. You just text me, call me. I'm always available. Or they could reach out to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll
Yeah,
connect you guys. So
I'm all over.
what's a question that you wish someone would ask you? Like you meet with tons of founders, tons of investors. You're smack dab in the middle of innovation and deal flow. What question do you wish someone would ask you?
I wish somebody would ask me why I do it, because then they'd realize, what my purpose is and that I really want to help. It's funny actually. One day, somebody, I was in having dinner with a few VCs, and one of the guys was kind of grilling me, and he goes, why do you want to make all this money? And I said, money is not my objective. It's a byproduct of what I do. Money is not the end goal. If you're just chasing the money, money's going to keep running away from you. But if you're out there and, like I said, you're in love with the problem, you're helping create a solution for people, and you're helping lift others up, you're going to get the money. You know, And some of the richest people on earth, they think like that. You know, Jeff Bezos didn't only want to do it for the money, he wanted to solve a problem. All these other people, Elon Musk, you know, with all the stuff he's doing, trying to solve a problem. So, you know, I wish more people would think like that. And it was kind of funny because his face was like, holy shit, you know, he's kind of embarrassed and kind of looked down because, you know, at the end of the day, that's what he was thinking. He's thinking, how can I get all these millions? And I'm thinking about how can I make an impact in these young founders' lives? And it's just a completely different thought process. And people could feel it, you know, you could say whatever, but people could feel it. They know if you're genuine. They know at the end of the day, this guy just wants a return. He just wants a few extra bucks. And, you know, at the end of the day, when there's two term sheets on the table, who do you think they're going to pick? The guy who genuinely wants to help him out, or the guy who's just trying to get 2x on his money?
Mm, so good. Cool. So you gave your phone number, your email address. You gave.
You want my house address?
No, 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 no,
I'm
no,
just
no, no.
joking. I'm just joking.
No. So I love what you're doing, Justice. I definitely want to encourage you. We'll definitely, as you guys are going through different funds, when you guys, close out funds or have, the next fund up, definitely want to chat with you guys. So for people in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests, encourage them, right? Being in this game is awesome. Being a deal maker is incredible. I would never do anything different, but you get in the ring a few times, you get, knocked around a bit. So reach out to our guest, and say, thank you for being on the show. Find a way to do a deal together. All their contact information will be in the show notes below. And I hope you guys have had an incredible conversation, listening in, being a part of this. Keep it going by reaching out to them. And we'll talk to you all on the next episode. We'll see you guys.